Friends, in the last few days, we have seen multiple concerns being raised regarding some of the financial numbers that have come out in the CAG report. Consequently, the Finance Department has submitted clarification on those numbers to clarify on the different aspects and the different concerns that were raised. At the very outset, I would like to just mention to all of you that this entire concern between whether CAG numbers are correct or the state government numbers are correct, I just want to clarify that both are actually in the right direction. Both are actually correct. The question is how and where you place the numbers, which date you take the numbers from, and in which section or under which head do you put certain expenditures. And based on that, the numbers actually come out differently. So that's the reason why CAG has come out with certain reports based on putting certain expenditures under certain heads, which has then inflated numbers in certain way. But if you actually were to remove those numbers from that particular head, which should have been the case, then you will find that what the finance ministry is saying and department is saying is correct. So to give you a more detailed picture on what we are trying to say and what we're trying to share with all of you, we will try to give you a detailed presentation in a simplified manner so that it doesn't confuse you any further. And whenever you have questions, you can always ask the questions. But we're going to lay down all the numbers for you in the most transparent manner to share with you and inform you about the facts and the figures that are there. And based on that, you can obviously make your own judgment on what are the actual facts and where the state stands in terms of finances. So with this opening remark, I would request our Commissioner Secretary Finance to kindly give the presentation, and I would request our press friends to direct the camera towards the screen.
It's not a complex presentation because somebody also said we are not finance experts. So we tried to simplify it nicely so that it's easy to understand. Next. So AG has raised three concerns. One is that the GSDP growth rate is not so good, it's only 10%. So this is the AG report of 22-23. So AG said state's GSDP, which is the state's gross state domain, AG has said. So one by one, which we already issued a press release, but I think we want to clarify in much greater detail. So as Honorable CM just mentioned, it is about the timing of the numbers. See, the fundamental first number is the GSDP number, which is the final estimates are there. So today we have the final estimates of only in June. So June they took whatever was the number. But in August, now anybody can go to the MOFSP website and see the GDP estimate for 22-23 is 46,550. This might still undergo.
Which was in June, in the month of June. The numbers that they had at their disposal was the second column out there, which says 38,000 for 21-22 and 42,000 for 22-23, and hence the growth rate of 10.09%. During that period, the calculations for the GSDP, which is still going on and is a continuous process, is still happening. But why that is happening, if you go to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, the MOFSP, the GSDP as per MOFSP, you can see in the third column, this is actual number which we should believe, I should say. AG did not have this number in the month of June. So this number has come out now only. And if you look at that number, the factual number is 2021-22, our GSDP was 40,000. And as of now, the quick estimates as per MOFSP is for 2022-23 is 46,000. Hence a growth rate of 15.6%. These are not our numbers. These are MOFSP numbers. And as mentioned by the Commissioner and Secretary for Finance, we expect this 46,000 also plus to be having some more improvement in that, but we won't go for that right now. We will stick with what MOFSP has in their official website. This is Government of India, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, has shown in their website that Meghalaya's growth rate is 15.6%. AG, the reason why they put it in June, as I said, is because the numbers available to them that time in June was 38,000 and 42,000. And therefore, what I'm saying is they were right at that point in time because the numbers were only what was available to them. The question of timing, and if you look at the real numbers that have come out now with details, it shows that we're growing at 15.6%.
So the growth rate over optimistic scenario, if we go with this 17% post-COVID growth rate, we will touch 92,000 crores by 27-20. Scenario is, let's say if we took a growth rate of 10 years, the last 10 years. If last 10 years, if we just exclude the COVID year, our growth rate is 10.82. So with that normal last 10 years, we are not taking the good things that are happening in the growth rate in the last 2-3 years. Without that, without taking any of the positives of the last 2-3 years also, at a minimum, we will become 80,000 is what the numbers show. From the finance department side, our expected path is the middle path, which is 12.5. We expect we might not, I think 14% or 15% might be too optimistic. 10% or 11% is I think a little pessimistic because we believe that it will be 12.5. So our number, our preferred number is 10.6, which is much higher than, which is higher than 10 billion. But these are the three scenarios. But in any scenario, 10 billion looks achievable. It is not that, we are off the track or we will not be able to achieve.
Probable scenarios, worst case scenario, the probable scenario, and a best case scenario. And this is based on the past numbers that are there. And in all the three scenarios, we are on track to touch the $10 billion economy which we have been targeting. So therefore, our target is very realistic and we are hopeful that even in a worst case scenario, we should be. But obviously, as I said, these are futuristic things. We need to see how things are. A lot depends on how the next few years go and how we are able to work and bring in investments and go with our growth program and strategy. But if everything goes as planned, as I said, we are expected to cross our 80,000 crore mark, which is a $10 billion economy.
So these all are receipts minus our expenditure. That is fiscal deficit. So the overall story across the world is that every country, every state, every city, everybody who has finances is expected to spend a little bit more than what you have, especially because when you spend more, the growth happens. So, and that is how the whole world economy works. So, but there is a limit. If you go beyond limit, that's the problem. So, Government of India has for the long time through what is called the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, all the states have said that there is a limit. 3% was the limit, but in the last 5 years, because of COVID, Government of India is saying, please borrow more and spend more and invest in capital. So, they have increased this limit to about 4%. So 4% is the limit of borrowing. That much we have to borrow. We cannot borrow more than that. I think the question of government borrowing more does not arise because this is controlled by Government of India. Every 3 months, Government of India gives us a letter saying that this quarter you can borrow X amount. That letter the finance department sends to RBI. Only then RBI borrows on our behalf. We are not even borrowing. We send the Government of India's permission to Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India does the auction, and whatever is the rate at that time, based on that we get the money. So that is how it works. So the question of estate borrowing, this was possible before 2020. Many states, not our state thankfully, but many southern states, Punjab, these states were borrowing what are called as off-budget borrowings. Means without showing in the budget through public sector corporations and all, borrowing was permitted. But in 2020 onwards, every year the finance department, I sign a declaration and we give to finance department, so Ministry of Government of India, saying that we have not done any off-budget borrowings, we have followed all your regulations. We give a signed declaration. Only based on that declaration, they give the what is called the borrowing permission. And this permission goes to Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India raises money for the states. This is the common procedure for all states. So from 2020 onwards, the system is there. So every state, we get permission only for this 4%. So we cannot go beyond the 4%. Now the question is, if we cannot go beyond 4%, how is our fiscal deficit 6.5%? So this is what AG is also asking, and this is, I think, the main issue which we want to clarify. So what has happened, a very interesting thing that has happened after COVID is, again, Government of India came up with a scheme called SASCI. It's called the Special Capital Assistance to States for Capital Investment. So Government of India said, India has to grow. We have this Viksit Bharat dream. India has to become a developed country. So states have to invest more in capital projects. They have to take up new projects, new roads, new schools, new highways, new buildings, all kinds of new capital projects.
So Government of India said, we will give you money to the states. The Government of India will borrow and give to the states as a 50-year interest-free loan. So it's a 50-year interest-free loan will be given to the states. So take this money, invest in capital projects. So, and the special capital assistance scheme comes as one is a normative allotment, which is we get a quota of that money. And
that is a column number 1. So this table on the side, you can see that's a very important table to note. So the normative allotment, what we mean by normative allotment is the allotment or the budgetary allotment that Government of India allows the states to take. So if you can see in the first column, the normative allocation for Meghalaya in 2020-21 is 200. Next year also it was 200. Third year it was increased to 614, and fourth year it was increased to 767. So this is what the normative allotment has been. But then based on our work that we did, the UCs that we submitted on time, all the utilization we did, if you can see the second column, we have able to receive additional amount of you can say bonus, performance-based incentive bonus, and that is where Meghalaya, in fact, in 2022-23, if you look at the last column, our normative allotment was only 614, but we ended up getting 1,049 crores because we were able to utilize the funds and submit the UCs and all the aspects in a very, very quick manner. Now, why this is important, Commissioner Secretary will just give more details.
So now the debt story. Next. So AG has also made this comment saying that the debt is basically 43%. Again, here also it's the same story what we said in the press release. So if we exclude the capital, special capital assistance money from that, our number is 36 and not 43. That's exactly what we said in the press release. So yes, we are not at 28%, it's a fact. So we were even 10 years ago, we were at 30%. So we are today at 36%. But if you look at our projections for the next 5 years, on all the 3 scenarios, the most optimistic, the normal, and the most probable scenario, we will be by the year 28 within the 28%. We will hit 27.13 in the most pessimistic scenario also. We are taking various steps because it doesn't change in one day, because during COVID time, what has happened is that all state governments were encouraged to borrow more. Government of India allowed us to borrow up to 6%. This is the highest. I think in 21-22, up to 6% was permitted by Government of India. So therefore, the state's debt has increased and also GDP came down. So debt as a percentage of GDP therefore is higher. But today our number is 36 and the plan is there in any growth scenario, we should hit the 28% by 27-28.
So just to again to sum up this aspect, this is what we call the debt to GSDP ratio. That means the debt amount divided by the GSDP. Why this went up to 36%, as mentioned by Dr. Vijay, that it's not 45% because 45% is including the special assistant on capital investment. If we were to minus that and not include it in the debt, then we are down to 36% because, as I said, that is not actually in debt. That's number one question. So 36% now. Now why 36% and how it happened? Even before, 10 years back also as mentioned, we were at 30%. So a number has been always above 28% at large. During the COVID time, the debt ceiling was allowed to be increased by the central government, and obviously we took that because we needed the money, and that increased our debt. But at the same time, our expenditure, our GSDP went down. So when the denominator is going down and the numerator is going up, so obviously the percentage obviously goes up. So we saw the entire process of this debt to GSDP ratio hit very badly during the COVID time. But having said that, as we expect our GSDP to go up, and we have shown the scenarios to you that even at a 10% growth, which is a very, very pessimistic number and very conservative number, we are still looking at an 80,000 crore economy that we are moving towards. So our GSDP is poised to go up in the next 3 to 4 years time. As GSDP goes up and as we control our debt, which is obviously, as I said, Government of India is very, very particular. It is Government of India that gives us the permission to borrow. It is the Reserve Bank that ultimately borrows and gives us the money. So there is no way, even if we want to take, we can't take unless RBI and thing. So all these caps are put in, and we expect that the trend, as you said in this, as you can see in this chart, the 3 scenarios, that numbers out there are actually percent. So that's 27.13%, 25.94%. And in a best case scenario, where we expect to touch almost about 96,000 crores in terms of our economy, we're looking at a 24.41% in terms of our debt to GSDP ratio. So this is the scenario for and the explanation for what the AG has said regarding debt.
So, sir,
Not too bad, not too good, but again it has a public utility and a work to do. So it is plus and minus. The years before it was not that bad. We can see it was 0.7%. Then last year it was in fact showed a bit of profit of 6,000 or 60,000 rupees, and this year a bit loss. So it's plus and minus. But apart from that, if you look at all the others, most of them are just touch and go. Some of them like MTDC is even having a profit of 1.62. If you look at the Forest Corporation, obviously we have a 0.12 minus, very small amount. If you look at the Shillong Smart City, it's about 5.16 as profit. It's showing. MIDFC again. These are all agencies that are meant to give utility and service. So obviously we can't expect them to be making profits as such. So a bit of losses are expected because, as I said, this is meant for public utility. But if you look at this chart, I think it's very clear to all of you that there is only one particular organization and PSU that is leading to 85 to 90% of the loss that is shown for the PSUs. So therefore, in the CAG report, it looks really, all the PSUs are in bad shape. Well, they are, but it's not that bad, and some of them are in fact making profit. And MECL is the one that is actually having about 350 crores of loss. But that also, if you look at the last previous years, at 744 crores to 542 crores loss, today we are 391 crores loss. So in a systematic way, we are moving towards improvement, and we hope that we'll be able to bring these numbers down in the future.
what about MCC?
All the options, we are in touch with the stakeholders, especially the employees, and we are keeping all the options, including closure also, and we are in fact at a very advanced stage of discussions. But whatever decision we take will be with the consent and with the knowledge and with the overall consensus of all the stakeholders.
So out of 21 SPSEs, only MCCL that the government is looking towards.
Two of them have already been enclosed, which is the number 20 and number 21 have already been closed. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bamboo Chips and the Electronic Development Corporation.
And recently warehousing also has been closed. Housing, sorry.
Housing is a board, yeah.
Yeah, it's a board. Sorry, it's not PSU. I'm sorry. I take my words back. Yeah. So so only these two, and so the Bamboo Chip Limited and the Meghalaya Electronic, and now we are examining MCCL also.